Hey everyone. Get cozy, settle into a comfy position, and let these calming tales whisk you away to a peaceful night's sleep. Drop a comment below on what time and from where you are watching this video and share your own late-night ritual that helps you drift off. I was born in a world that didn't want me, in a time when the sky bled crimson and the earth groaned under the weight of unseen terrors. My name is Arinder, and I was the first of what they'd later call witchers. Though back then I was just a boy, shivering in a damp cave, clutching a rusted dagger as the wind howled like a banshee outside. The year was long before the conjunction of the spheres, before monsters roamed freely, when humanity still believed it could tame the wilds with fire and faith. I didn't know it yet, but I was about to become the spark that ignited a legend, and a curse. The cave was my refuge, a jagged scar in the mountainside where I'd fled after my village burned. Raiders had come, men with eyes like wolves, their blades slick with the blood of my kin. I was 12, too small to fight, too stubborn to die. I'd run until my lungs burned, until the screams faded into the wind. Now as I huddled against the cold stone, I felt something else, a presence heavy and ancient, like the weight of 1,000 unseen eyes. The air shimmered and a voice not human spoke my name. Arinder, it rasped, coiling around my mind like smoke. I scrambled back, my dagger raised, but there was nothing to see. Just darkness and the faint glow of my fire. You seek strength, it continued, to avenge, to survive. I can give it to you. I froze. The voice wasn't kind, but it wasn't cruel either, just inevitable like the tide. Who are you? I whispered, my voice cracking. I am the void's whisper, it said. A shard of what lies beyond. Your world is fracturing, boy. Things come, things that will tear your kind apart. I offer you power, but it demands a price. I should have run. I should have screamed. But I was tired of being weak, of watching everything I loved turn to ash. What price? I asked. The air pulsed and the cave seemed to shrink, the walls breathing. Your humanity, it said. Your heart will harden, your body will change. You will become more and less than man. And you will serve. I didn't understand, not fully. But I saw my mother's face, her eyes wide as the raiders' blades found her. I saw my sister, too young to scream, lying still in the dirt. I'll pay it, I said. The darkness laughed, a sound like breaking glass, and then the pain came. I woke in a pool of my own blood, or what I thought was blood. It was black, viscous, steaming in the cold air. My body ached, my bones felt wrong, too heavy, too sharp. I touched my face, and my fingers brushed against eyes that burned with a faint golden glow, reflected in the dagger I still clutched. The cave was silent, but the air hummed with power. I wasn't human anymore. I didn't know what I was. The whisper had left me, but its gift remained. My senses were alive in ways they'd never been. I could hear the drip of water 100 paces away, smell the faint rot of a dead beast outside the cave, feel the pulse of the earth beneath me. My muscles coiled with strength I'd never known, and when I stood, the dagger felt like a feather in my hand. But there was something else, a coldness in my chest, a hollow where fear and grief should have been. I tried to cry for my family, but no tears came. I stumbled out of the cave into a world that felt alien. The forest was too loud, the colors too sharp. A wolf prowled nearby, and when it saw me it didn't attack. It fled, tail low, as if I were the monster. Maybe I was. I wandered for days, testing my new body, learning its limits. I could run for hours without tiring, leap across streams that would have broken my old legs. But the hunger was different, ravenous, insatiable, not just for food but for purpose. That's when I met Lyrian. She was a mage, or so she called herself, cloaked in silver-threaded robes, her eyes sharp as a hawk's. She found me by a river, skinning a deer with my bare hands, my face smeared with blood. I expected her to scream, to run like the wolf. Instead, she knelt beside me, unafraid. You're changed, she said, her voice calm but curious. What did this to you? I told her about the whisper, the cave, the pain. She listened, her fingers tracing runes in the air that glowed faintly before fading. The void, she murmured. It's a force older than the gods, older than time. It's not supposed to touch this world, but something's breaking the barriers. You're the first, but you won't be the last. She took me to her tower, a crumbling spire hidden in the mountains. There, she studied me not as a man but as a specimen. She drew my blood, tested my strength, muttered spells that made my skin crawl. You're a weapon, she said one night, her voice tinged with awe and fear. The void made you to fight what's coming. What's coming? I asked. She didn't answer, not then. But I saw the fear in her eyes, and for the first time since the cave, I felt a flicker of something human, dread. Lyrian's tower became my home, though I was more prisoner than guest. She taught me to control my new body, to wield the strength and speed the void had given me. She crafted a blade for me, forged with runes that burned when I touched it, and taught me to fight, not like a soldier but like a predator. I learned to move silently, to strike with precision, to sense danger before it struck. But she also taught me about the world, about the forces stirring beyond the veil. The conjunction is coming, she said one night, her face lit by the glow of a crystal orb. The planes are aligning and the barriers between worlds are thinning. Creatures will spill through, monsters, demons, things no blade can kill. The void chose you to stand against them. Why me? I asked, my voice rough. The coldness in my chest had grown, spreading like frost. I hadn't felt joy or sorrow in months, only purpose. Lyrian hesitated. Because you were desperate, she said. The void preys on those who have nothing left to lose. Her words stung, though I couldn't feel the pain fully. I thought of my family, of the boy I'd been. Was he gone forever? I didn't ask because I wasn't sure I wanted the answer. Then the conjunction came. The sky split open, a wound of light and shadow, and the world screamed. Creatures poured forth, clawed things with too many eyes, beasts that shimmered like smoke, monsters that spoke in tongues that burned my ears. Villages fell, forests burned, and the air itself seemed to choke on their presence. Lyrian and I fought them, her magic flaring like a storm, my blade cutting through flesh that wasn't flesh. But there were too many. We need more like you, Lyrian said, her face pale as we stood over a field of dead things, their bodies dissolving into ash. The void's gift, it can be replicated. I stared at her, my golden eyes narrowing. You'd curse others with this? Not a curse, she snapped. A necessity. Humanity will die without warriors like you. I didn't argue. I'd seen the monsters, felt their claws tear into me, only for my wounds to heal in hours. I was no longer human, but I was alive and I could fight. If others could be made like me, maybe the world could survive. Lyrian's plan was madness, but so was the world. She gathered others, mages, alchemists, priests who'd abandoned their gods when the monsters came. They called themselves the Order of the Flame, a name that sounded noble but hid their desperation. They built a fortress in the mountains, a place of stone and shadow, and there they began the trials. The first subjects were volunteers, men and women broken by loss like I'd been. Lyrian had studied my blood, my body, and with the Order's help she'd devised a ritual, a blend of alchemy, magic, and something darker, something that reeked of the void. They called it the Trial of the Grasses, though there were no grasses involved, only pain and death. I watched the first batch go through it. 10 men, all strong, all desperate. They drank the elixirs, their bodies strapped to stone tables as the mages chanted. The air grew heavy, the same oppressive weight I'd felt in the cave. The men screamed, their bodies twisting, their eyes glowing gold, then dimming. Only 2 survived, their minds half broken, their bodies changed like mine. The others turned to ash, or worse, became things that weren't human or monster, things we had to kill. I trained the survivors, teaching them what Lyrian had taught me. Their names were Torin and Vera, and they hated me for what they'd become. You didn't warn us, Torin spat one night, his new blade shaking in his hand. You let us think we'd be heroes. You're alive, I said, my voice flat. That's more than most. Vera, quieter but no less broken, just stared at me, her golden eyes reflecting my own. What are we? She whispered. I didn't answer. I didn't know. The Order refined the trials, but the death toll grew. For every witcher we made, 10 died. The fortress became a graveyard, its halls echoing with screams. I wanted to stop it, to burn the place down, but Lyrian's words haunted me. Humanity will die without warriors like you. So I stayed, training those who survived, forging them into weapons. But the void wasn't done with me. One night, as I stood watch on the fortress walls, the whisper returned. You've served well, it said, its voice a blade in my mind. But the price is not yet paid. I gripped my sword, my heart, or what was left of it, pounding. What more do you want? Your kind will multiply, it said. But you, Irinder, will bear the weight of their pain. Every witcher's curse will echo in you. I laughed, a hollow sound. I'm already cursed. The whisper didn't laugh back. Not yet, it said, and then it was gone. The order grew and so did the witchers. We were a dozen, then 2 dozen, each bearing the same golden eyes, the same coldness. We hunted the monsters that poured through the rifts, our blades and signs, crude spells Lyrian had woven into our training, cutting through the chaos. The people called us saviors, then feared us, then hated us. We were too different, too deadly. Villages welcomed us when monsters came, then drove us out when the bodies were cold. I felt the void's curse growing. Every witcher's pain, their rage, their loss, it seeped into me. I'd wake screaming, their memories flashing through my mind. Torin's wife, dead in his arms, Vera's son, torn apart by a fiend. I carried them all, a burden I couldn't escape. Lyrian saw it, but she offered no comfort. This is the price of survival, she said. Then came the betrayal. I'd suspected it for months. The Order's mages were hiding something. I caught whispers of secret experiments, of rituals that went beyond the trials. One night, I broke into the lower chambers, where the air was thick with the stench of blood and magic. There I found the truth. The Order wasn't just making witchers. They were trying to summon the void itself, to bind its power and become gods. Lyrian stood at the center of a circle of runes, her hands glowing with black fire, her eyes wild. We can control it, she said when she saw me. We can end the conjunction, seal the rifts forever. You're mad, I said, my blade drawn. The void isn't a tool. It's using you. She laughed, but it was hollow like the whispers. You're proof it can be harnessed. Look at you, Erinder. You're perfect. I wasn't perfect. I was a monster and so were the others. I lunged, but the mages were ready. Spells flared, chains of light binding me. They dragged me to the ritual circle, their voices chanting. I felt the void's presence, stronger than ever, pulling at my soul. But I wasn't alone. Torin and Vera had followed me, their loyalty stronger than their hate. They fought, their blades clashing with the mage's magic. Blood spilled, runes shattered, and the ritual collapsed. Lyrian fell, her body consumed by the black fire she'd summoned. The fortress burned, and we fled, the surviving witchers scattering into the night. The Order was gone, but the witchers remained. We were few, but we were enough. The monsters kept coming, and we hunted them, not for glory but for survival. The world changed, kingdoms rose, and the legend of the witchers grew, part hero, part monster, always feared. I carried the void's curse until the end. Every witcher's pain was mine, their losses a weight I couldn't shed. I trained others, passing on what I'd learned, but I never spoke of the whisper, of the true cost. They didn't need to know. They'd learn it themselves in time. I sit now, old and scarred, in a tavern at the edge of the world. My eyes still glow, my blade still sharp, but the coldness in my chest is heavier than ever. A young witcher sits across from me, his eyes bright with the fire I've long lost. How did it start? He asks. How did we become this? I smile, a ghost of a thing. A boy made a choice, I say, and the world paid the price. He doesn't understand, not yet, but he will. The void always collects. The young witcher, Calden, leaned forward, his mug untouched, his golden eyes searching mine for answers I wasn't ready to give. The tavern was dim, the air thick with the scent of stale ale and smoke. Outside, a storm battered the walls, the wind howling like the ghosts of those I'd lost. I could feel them now, Torin, Vera, the others, their pain a constant hum in my bones, the void's curse weaving their memories into my own. Tell me, Calden pressed, his voice low but insistent. You said a boy made a choice. What choice? And why do we bear this emptiness? He touched his chest, where his heart should have been warm with life, but I knew he felt it too, the cold, the hollow where human emotions frayed. I took a sip of my ale, the bitterness grounding me. It's not a story for one night, I said, though I knew he wouldn't let it go. He was like I'd been once, hungry for purpose, blind to the cost. But you deserve some truth. The choice was mine in a cave when I was younger than you. I was weak, alone, and a voice offered me strength. I took it and it made me this. I gestured to myself, to the scars, the eyes, the weight I carried. Calden frowned, his fingers tightening around his mug. A voice? Like a god. Not a god, I said, my voice sharp. Something older. Something that doesn't care about us, only uses us. It gave me power to fight what was coming, but it took more than it gave. He leaned back, his face shadowed. And the others? The ones who came after you? I saw their faces in my mind, Torin's snarl, Vera's quiet rage, the dozens who'd survived the trials only to break under the weight of what they'd become. They were made, I said, by mages who thought they could control the void's gift. They were wrong. Calden's eyes narrowed. But we're still here. We hunt, we kill, we survive. That's something, isn't it? I wanted to believe him, to find some shred of hope in his words. But the void's curse pulsed in me, a reminder of every witcher's suffering. It's survival, I said. But it's not living. He didn't respond, and the silence stretched between us, heavy as the storm outside. I wondered if he'd hate me one day like Torin and Vera had, when the weight of the curse settled into him. I hoped he wouldn't. I hoped he'd be stronger. The next morning the storm had passed, leaving the world slick and raw. Calden and I left the tavern, our boots sinking into the mud as we followed a rumor, a village 2 days' ride away, plagued by a beast that tore through livestock and men alike. The road was quiet, the kind of quiet that sets your nerves on edge. My senses, sharpened by the void, caught every rustle, every distant snap of a twig. Calden rode beside me, his horse skittish, his hand never far from his sword. "You ever think about stopping?" he asked as we crested a hill, the village's smoke rising in the distance. "Just walking away from it all?" I glanced at him, his young face already lined with the strain of our kind. "There's no walking away," I said. "The monsters don't stop and neither can we. It's what we were made for." He grunted, unconvinced but didn't argue. I envied his doubt, the flicker of rebellion in him. I'd lost that long ago. The village was a ruin when we arrived. Huts shattered, fields trampled, blood staining the earth. The survivors huddled in a barn, their eyes wide with terror. Their elder, a woman with hair like frost, told us of the beast, a shadow that moved like smoke, with claws that cut stone and eyes that burned red. "It comes at night," she whispered. "It sings, and those who hear it, they don't come back." Calden's jaw tightened. "Sounds like a wraith," he said. "Maybe a banshee." I shook my head. "No. Something else." I could feel it, a pulse in the air, like the void's presence but twisted wrong. Whatever this was, it wasn't born of the conjunction. It was older, tied to the same force that had changed me. We set traps that night, runes carved into the earth, silver dust scattered in patterns Lyrian had taught me. Calden watched, his hands steady but his eyes darting, as if he sensed it too, the weight of something beyond our understanding. When the moon rose, the beast came. It wasn't a wraith or a banshee. It was a nightmare, a mass of shadow and bone, its form shifting like ink in water. Its eyes burned, not red but black, like holes into nothingness. It sang, a sound that clawed at my mind, pulling at the void's curse. I saw flashes, my village burning, my mother's scream, the cave where I'd made my choice. Calden staggered, his sword shaking in his grip. "Fight it!" I roared, my voice cutting through the song. I drew my blade, its runes flaring, and charged. The beast's claws met my steel and the impact shook my bones, but I held. Calden joined me, his signs sparking in the dark, a burst of fire, a shield of light. Together we drove it back, our blades carving through its shifting form until it collapsed, its song fading into a wail. We stood, panting, blood dripping from our wounds. The villagers crept out, their fear now mixed with awe. "You saved us," the elder said, her voice trembling. I didn't answer. I was staring at the beast's remains, at the black ichor that steamed and vanished, just like the blood in the cave all those years ago. Calden saw it too. "What was that?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "The void," I said. "Or something it left behind." The beast was only the beginning. Over the next months, Calden and I hunted others like it, creatures that didn't fit the stories that carried the void's taint. Each fight left me weaker, not in body but in spirit. The curse was growing, the pain of every witcher I'd trained flooding my mind. I saw their deaths, their failures, their moments of despair. Torin cut down by a fiend. Vera, lost to a rift she tried to seal alone. I carried them all and it was breaking me. Calden noticed. "You're different," he said one night as we camped by a river, the stars hidden by clouds. "You flinch sometimes like you're seeing something I can't." I didn't want to tell him, didn't want to burden him with the truth. But he deserved to know. "The void tied me to all of you," I said. "Every witcher's pain I feel it. Every loss I carry." His eyes widened then hardened. "That's why you're always so distant. You're drowning in it." I nodded, staring into the fire. It's the price I pay for being the first. He was quiet for a long time, then said, "You don't have to carry it alone." I looked at him, this boy who still had a spark of hope, and I wanted to believe him. But the void didn't share its burdens. Our next hunt took us to a rift, a tear in the world where the air shimmered and the ground pulsed with unnatural life. The villagers nearby spoke of it in whispers, calling it the edge of the abyss. Monsters poured from it, but so did something else, a call, a pull that made my skin crawl. The void was there waiting. "We have to close it," Calden said, his voice firm. "If we don't, it'll spread." I knew he was right, but I also knew the cost. Closing a rift meant facing the void itself, and I wasn't sure I could survive it. But Calden's resolve was unshakable, and I couldn't let him go alone. We prepared for days, carving runes, brewing elixirs, sharpening our blades. The night we approached the rift, the air was thick with power, the ground trembling beneath us. The void's whisper returned, louder than ever, its voice a storm in my mind. "You cannot stop it," it said. "You are mine." I ignored it, focusing on Calden's steady breath beside me. We stepped into the rift and the world dissolved. Inside the rift, reality was a nightmare. The ground was ash, the sky a swirl of black and gold. Shapes moved in the distance, not monsters but ideas, fragments of the void's will. I felt it pulling at me, trying to unravel what little humanity I had left. Calden gripped my arm, his eyes wide but focused. "Stay with me," he said. We fought our way through, our blades cutting through shadows that screamed and bled. The whisper was everywhere, taunting, promising power, promising rest. I saw my life flash before me, my village, my family, the cave Lyrian's betrayal. I saw every witcher I'd trained, their faces accusing, their pain mine. At the rift's heart, we found it, a core of pure void, a pulsing mass of darkness that sang with 1,000 voices. Calden raised his blade, but I stopped him. "This is mine," I said. "You can't fight it." He protested, but I pushed him back, stepping toward the core. The whisper roared, and I felt the curse tighten, every witcher's pain crashing into me. I saw Calden's future, his battles, his losses, his death, and I knew I couldn't let him carry this. I plunged my blade into the core and the world exploded. Pain consumed me, not just mine but every witcher's, every soul the void had touched. I screamed, my body burning, my mind fracturing. But I held on, pouring everything I was into the strike. The rift collapsed, the core shattered, and the void's voice faded. When I opened my eyes, I was on the ground, Calden kneeling beside me. The rift was gone, the air still. "You did it," he said, his voice breaking. I tried to smile, but my body was heavy, my vision fading. The curse was gone, the void's hold broken, but so was I. "Take care of them," I whispered, meaning the witchers, the world, everything I'd fought for. Calden nodded, tears in his golden eyes. "I will." I closed my eyes, the coldness in my chest finally warming just for a moment. The void had taken its price, but I'd paid it in full. The witchers would live on, and so would the world. That was enough. I didn't expect to wake. Death had felt certain, a final release from the void's curse, from the weight of every witcher's pain. But consciousness clawed me back, sharp and unrelenting. My eyes snapped open to darkness, not the soft black of night, but a suffocating void, endless and alive. I was somewhere else, somewhere wrong. The air hummed with a familiar presence, and my heart, or what passed for it, sank. The void wasn't done with me. I stood, my body aching but whole, my blade still in my hand. The ground beneath me was smooth like polished glass, reflecting a sky that churned with colors no mortal eye should see. Shapes flickered at the edges of my vision, shadows that whispered my name, their voices a chorus of the witchers I'd known, their pain now a distant echo in my mind. The curse was gone, or so I'd thought, but something lingered, a thread tying me to this place. "Irinder," the whisper said, its voice no longer a blade but a tide pulling at my soul. "You broke the rift, but you cannot break me." I gripped my sword, its runes dim in this unnatural place. "I closed your gate," I said, my voice steady despite the fear creeping into my bones. "Your hold on my world is gone." The air pulsed, and the shadows coalesced into a form, not a beast but a figure, humanoid yet wrong, its edges blurring into the void. Its eyes were mine, golden and cold, a mirror of what I'd become. "Your world?" it said, its voice layered with 1,000 others. "You think this is about one world?" The conjunction was but a spark. I am eternal and you are my vessel. I staggered back, the truth hitting me like a blow. The void hadn't made me to save my world, it had made me to serve it, to carry its will across realms. The witchers, the trials, the pain, it was all part of a design I couldn't see. No, I said, raising my blade. I'm done with you. The figure laughed, a sound that shook the ground. You cannot refuse what you are. It lunged and I fought. My blade met its form, but it was like cutting smoke. Each strike passed through and the figure reformed, its laughter growing louder. My strength, my speed, my witcher's gifts, they meant nothing here. I was in its domain and it was endless. Then I heard another voice, Calden's. Irinder, it called, faint but fierce, cutting through the void's roar. I turned, and there he was, standing at the edge of this nightmare, his blade glowing with runes, his eyes burning with defiance. He shouldn't be here, couldn't be here, but there he was, a beacon in the dark. How? I shouted, dodging the figure's claw-like grasp. The rift didn't close fully, he yelled, charging forward. It pulled you in and I followed. We're not leaving you. He fought beside me, his signs flaring, bursts of fire, shields of light. Together we drove the figure back, but it didn't falter. It grew larger, its form splitting into a dozen shadows, each wearing the face of a witcher I'd trained, their eyes accusing. You made us, they said in unison. You cursed us. I faltered, the weight of their words heavier than any blade. Calden grabbed my arm, his grip like iron. Don't listen, he said. They're not real. You're not their curse, you're their strength. His words anchored me and I fought harder, my blade finding purchase now, the runes burning brighter. The shadows screamed, their forms unraveling, but the figure remained, its eyes locked on mine. You will return, it said. You always do. With a final strike, Calden and I shattered it, the void collapsing around us. Light flooded in and we fell, tumbling back into the world. We landed in the mud, the rift's scar gone, the air still and quiet. The village was a silhouette against the dawn, its people creeping out to see us, 2 witchers, bloodied but alive. Calden helped me to my feet, his face pale but resolute. Is it over? He asked. I looked at the horizon, where the sky was clear for the first time in months. The void's presence was gone, or at least silent, but its final words echoed in my mind. You will return. For now, I said. The villagers offered us food, shelter, gratitude we didn't want. They called us heroes, but their eyes held the same fear I'd seen 100 times. We left before noon, riding north, the weight of the void's threat lingering between us. You didn't have to come after me, I said as we camped that night, the fire crackling under a starlit sky. Calden shrugged, sharpening his blade. You'd have done the same. I wanted to argue, to tell him I wasn't worth it, but the words wouldn't come. For the first time in years I felt a flicker of something human. Not pain, not loss, but connection. Maybe the curse wasn't gone, but it was lighter, shared. We traveled for weeks, hunting smaller threats, griffins, drowners, the usual scourge. But the void's creatures were fewer now, the rifts quieter. The world was healing, or at least pretending to. Calden grew stronger, his skills sharpening, his resolve unbreakable. I taught him everything, Lyrian signs, the Order's tactics, the lessons I'd learned in blood. He listened, asked questions, and never flinched, even when I told him of the void's true nature. One night, by a frozen lake, he asked the question I'd dreaded. What if it comes back? The void, I mean. What if it's not done with us? I stared into the fire, seeing the cave, the whisper, the figure in the void. Then we fight, I said. As long as there are witchers, we fight. He nodded, his jaw set. And if it takes you again? I met his eyes, seeing the boy I'd been, the man I'd become. Then you finish what I started. Word spread of our deeds, of the rifts closing, of the witchers who'd faced the void and lived. Villages stopped driving us away, started seeking us out. Men and women, desperate or brave, came to us, asking to become what we were. I wanted to turn them away, to spare them the pain, but Calden saw it differently. They're choosing, he said one day as we trained a handful of recruits in a ruined fort. Like you did. We can't take that from them. I watched the recruits, 5 of them, young and scarred, their eyes full of fire. They weren't like the Order's subjects, forced or deceived. They knew the cost, or thought they did. We'd refined the trials, made them less deadly but not painless. 3 survived, their eyes glowing gold, their bodies changed. We named them Witchers and they joined us, blades in hand. We built a new order, not of mages or fanatics, but of witchers. No fortresses, no rituals and shadows. We trained in the open, under the sky, teaching them to hunt, to survive, to carry the weight of what they'd become. Calden took to leadership like he was born for it, his voice steady where mine faltered. I was proud though I'd never say it, but the void shadow lingered. I felt it in dreams, in the quiet moments when the world was too still. It wasn't gone, only waiting. I kept it from Calden, from the others, but I knew, one day it would call again. Years passed and the witchers grew. We were a brotherhood, a sisterhood, bound by our eyes, our blades, our curse. The world still feared us, but it needed us, and that was enough. I grew old, my body slowing, but my senses never dulled. Calden took over, his name a legend where mine had been a whisper. One night, as I sat by a fire, my blade across my lap, the whisper returned. "You thought you'd won," it said, soft as a lover's breath. "But I am patient." I didn't flinch. I'd heard it before. "I'm ready," I said, my voice steady. "But you'll have to go through them first." The void laughed, and then it was gone. I looked at the stars, at the world we'd saved, and for the first time I felt peace. The witchers would carry on, with or without me. That was my legacy, not a curse but a choice made again and again in the face of darkness.